Do you have Froggy? Do you have Froggy? Froggy, are you in this man's crotch? Out of every Disney movie that came out in the 2000s, arguably the most divisive decade in Disney's entire history, would you believe me if I said that I have the most mixed feelings about The Princess and the Frog? It feels like this should be a slam dunk for me, right? It's a 2D musical. Literally, what more could I ask for? That's what I thought too. But to me, this is weaker than every Disney Renaissance musical, Pocahontas excluded, and it pretty much all ties back to the story. It's basically got the exact same problem as Brother Bear, just not quite as drastic. The opening is great. I love Tiana, and I really care for her plight. Naveen seems like a pretty fun character as well. Dr. Facilier is a really smooth villain. The songs are great. Everything seems to be going well, and the main character's a frog now. Hey Disney, how about you stop turning people of color into animals? It's a really weird and gross trend. This studio did a ton of this decade, so I wanted to say that right off the bat. But like, in these other movies, it at least makes sense story-wise. Kuzco needs to be taught a lesson because he's a gigantic asshole. Kenai needs to be taught a lesson and be a brother bear to this kid. Later on, we got Pixar's Soul, and by being a cat, Joe learns a lesson about enjoying the small moments in his life. And in this movie, Naveen becoming a frog makes sense because he's very egotistical and needs to be taken down a peg. See, this trend that stunningly never happens to white people for some reason at least works for these specific characters and their arcs. Now, riddle me this, dear viewer. What the f*** did Tiana do to turn... What the f*** did Tiana do to deserve... What the f*** did Tiana do to... What the f*** did Tiana... What the f*** did Tiana... This is the hardest thing I've ever had to say. What the f*** did Tiana do to deserve turning into a frog? Like, if we can somehow ignore the fact that Disney's first black princess is a frog for 80% of the movie, how does her being a frog tie into her previous motivation of following her dream and opening her restaurant? Is there any significant character flaw in her that was fixed by her experience being a frog? The closest thing I could figure is that she apparently works too hard and she doesn't need to follow her dream because love is all she really needed. And being a frog somehow helped her realize this? This is stupid. How does kissing a frog man even turn her into a frog? Did Dr. Facilier really take the time to program this into the curse he put on Naveen? Did he expect Naveen to kiss someone? Did he really think to himself, oh man, it would be so hilarious if some lady tried kissing this frog and then got turned into a frog herself, even though the plan was to keep him locked up forever so that wouldn't even be a possibility. Okay, whatever. Both our main characters are frogs and the stuff I liked about the first half hour is gone now. Cool. Is the middle chunk of this movie gonna be good? No, not really actually. There are some charming moments since these characters are good and I like this trumpet alligator, but a lot of it is just shitty slapstick filler with annoying crocodiles and irritating hunters and this stupid ass firefly. I don't like him. When the villain steps on him later in the movie, I actually laughed. It was hilarious. And the third act was decent enough despite all the convoluted plot points being thrown in all different directions. So yeah, the story of this film kinda sucks honestly. This movie is absolutely carried by its songs and its characters, and even then, both of those are kind of a mixed bag. The highs are high. Friends on the Other Side is awesome. Almost There looks really cool. It makes me wish Disney would do unique 2D styles for their musical numbers in their 3D movies. I mean, why not? And actually, I really love Dig a Little Deeper. It's one of the most underrated Disney songs ever. Give it a listen, because it's a bop. Down in New Orleans Reprise is great. The original is okay. The Human Again knockoff song is alright. Better than Human Again anyway. The Firefly songs are lame, and I legit forgot the Going Down the Bayou song existed. As for the characters, Tiana, Naveen, Facilier, Lewis, and Mama Odie are all great. Charlotte and her John Goodman daddy were okay, but as a white person, I legit kind of felt patronized by their existence. Like, Disney didn't think I'd get invested in the story unless there were nice white people in it. Lawrence was dummy thick, so he gets a pass, and Ray can go die. Oh wait, he did. Awesome. I honestly can't decide if I love or hate this movie. It has so many hallmarks of Disney at its 2D musical best, and yet it's got so much stupid shit in it that it really doesn't hold up that well compared to the Disney Renaissance films. But I guess it's okay. It's an okay movie that just barely cracked the top half of this list, which should really go to show you that this decade of Disney films was kinda ass. Fortunately, there are 5 really good movies left to talk about, so let's get into those.